We got a lot of questions about our Coleman Spa, so I wanted to do a thorough video because the instructions are not great, I'll be honest with you. But the thing is a lot of fun. It's large enough. It doesn't look large enough for adult humans, but actually if you look at this thing and us in it, there's plenty of room in here. I'm just under 6 feet tall, and I can stretch out comfortably in here. When you have 4 people, you kind of have to sit on your legs, but 2 people, it's super comfortable. 1, man, you own the whole thing. So here's everything in the package. I wanted to do an unboxing because it's a complicated product. And you're gonna have your spa itself, which is completely inflatable. And you wouldn't realize how strong this thing is. It actually holds a ton of weight. I can actually sit on it when it's fully inflated. Now it does run on 110, and I'll tell you how many amps it draws too. The pump itself is actually, it has an air pump, so you don't need a separate air pump. As a matter of fact, they tell you in the instructions, don't use a separate air pump. There is a water filter in it, and also chlorine tablets, which I'll show you. This is kind of light. It's surprising how light it is. This is, we give you 2 filters. There's one already installed, and I give you a separate backup when this thing gets all schmutzy. And this is gonna filter your water, which is nice. Keep it nice and clean, keep the hair and little bugs out, the little critters. And this is your chlorine tablet container, and this screws in. I'll show you how that works too. So the first thing you're gonna do is pump it up. And again, the pump that they give you is recommended to be used as an air pump. Now, you want to use like a heavy gauge extension cord if you have to, because this thing won't fit in my recessed wall socket, so I need an extension cord. So I've got a heavy gauge extension cord, and it should be grounded to keep you safe. So you screw the air hose on this thing. You don't want to block it because it will gauge the exact amount of air pressure this thing needs to inflate. And it's a really smart design. So again, don't use a separate air pump, use this guy. Now this is in the bag of tricks here. It took me a while to figure out what this one was, but this actually screws in for your air valve. Tighten that on there and put your air with the hose. This hose is in there. It fits in there nicely, and just kind of give it like a half screw. There's not a thread on there. You just kind of push it in. It'll stay in there while your spa is being inflated. It says about 5 minutes. And there is a pressure release, so if you can't really overfill this thing, which is great. But it made me a little nervous, and I pulled it out at about 3.5, and it felt like it was pumped up enough. But they do say 5 minutes, and it's probably not going to hurt it in the instructions. It takes a little while for this thing to inflate. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of air here. And once she's fully inflated, I kept it on a little bit longer to get it nice and hard. You want to get it hard enough where you can kind of sit on it. Now, before you put the rest of this stuff together, you want to put the inflatable cover. There's an inflatable piece that fits inside the cover. And they don't explain this really well in the instruction manual. Now this is inflated also, so it will float on top of your spa when you snap it down. And you want to use that when you're heating it because that'll help the spa heat faster. All right, so you put your chlorine tablets. Use a little 1-inch chlorine tablets. It does not come with it. You have to pick these up. It's some big box store. They sell them on Amazon as well. And you just screw the filter in there. And again, the tablets are not included. So you want to use the little 1-inch tablets. Again, you can pick them up anywhere. So you tighten this guy. There's no tools necessary. Everything you need is here. It's a very, very smart design. Just twist these guys on nice and tight. You don't need any pipe dope or anything. You just screw them on. And it's a plumber's fitting. It really is. And they've done a really nice job sealing everything. I checked it, and there's no leaks whatsoever. So you could theoretically put this inside, but don't. It's going to take a long time to fill this up. A lot of people will use 2 hoses. I used one, and it took, I guess, a couple hours to fill this guy up. Not exactly sure how many gallons are in here, but it's a huge spa. So we fill it up to the minimum, somewhere between the minimum and the max, depending how many people you're going to put in here. Now, this is neat. You can see cup holders behind here. So you have to hold the power button, and a lot of people get confused about this controller. And it does lock after a couple of minutes too, so you got to hold the unlock button if it's not responding. And you see the bubbles are going crazy. Now, I was so hot, it was like 97 degrees outside on this day. Oh, the blower itself, the air pump and blower takes about 6 amps. So if you have a 15 amp service, you're going to be okay. Just don't overload it with other stuff, and you're going to be great. I'll show you what the heater does in a second here. All right, so heating up is going to take a while. I mean, 9 hours. It was about, I don't know, we're a little bit over 80 degrees, and it took probably about 4 hours to get it up to about 90. And if you want to go all the way up to 104, get ready to, you're going to have to wait for it. It's not a big heater. It's kind of a light, small device, which is great. It's kind of the appeal. So this is your heater in circulation here. The heater and your pump work together. And you can see the bubble control on the bottom there. You can set the timer from 1 to 99 hours. If you want to leave it on at 104 all the time, you can do that. I'd hate to see your electric bill, but you can set that anywhere you want. And yeah, I've got it set for, I think I ended up setting it for about 4 or 5 hours. And we left and we came back and it was it's over 90 degrees. You can go all the way up to 104. Now this is the lock button. The lock button, you'll see that little lock on the control. Now you can't do anything and it locks automatically after a certain amount of time. Just hold that unlock button and all the controls will be accessible. And a lot of people need to know how to change it from Celsius to Fahrenheit. You can see that little thermometer, so hit that. A lot of people ask this because Celsius drives people crazy. All right, so let's look. I've got the heater on and the pump, and let's see how many watts. About 600 watts, 660 watts is drawing. And I went to look at the amps because it's a 15 amp service out here. And it was drawing somewhere between 6.5 to 9 amps with the heater on. So keep that in mind. If you have 15 amp service, your circuit's going to trip at 15 amps, so you want to try to keep that under there. Now I turned the bubbles on, and it's really amped it up. See what I did there? To about just over 11 amps. That's with the heater, the blower, and everything fully loaded. So we got into it. Now, see, this is, like, I'm just under 6 foot. Felicia's about 5'3", 5'4", and we fit in here comfortably. I was surprised how big it is. Matter of fact, the kids came over, and we got all 4 of us into this thing comfortably. Had a big time in this Coleman Spa. A lot more affordable than those expensive spas that you see in some of the stores, and also a lot more convenient than putting an in-ground one. It's awesome. We love it.
It's pretty deep.